so today we are going to be continuing on our cloud scene. So the first thing I want to start with is fresh white and a clean, bigger brush. Like, you don't have to go really big, but basically we're going to be using this to come back on our painting now that it's dry, and we're going to be popping some of our highlights. So a lot of times with oil, since it's so wet all at the same time, it takes a while to dry. A lot of times it'll get kind of flat, and then you just have to come back and reestablish your big values. So like, I'm gonna load my white and reestablish where my light source is coming from, which is mostly from this side of my page. And I'm going to just kind of drop in some more white like this. And then I'll talk about how we're gonna start blending from there. Once I have my white blocked in, then what I want to go ahead and do is, in order to kind of make it look like these areas are blending but still kind of practicing the choppy big brush stroke method, is we're going to mix a gray using ultramarine blue, a tiny bit of burnt sienna, and white, just like what we did last week. And then I'm going to overlap my brush strokes so that it looks like they're blending, but really it's not, because if you blend it too much, it's all going to get way too flat. So I'm just overlapping with these grays on top. And then I'm going to next mix up my sky color. As I'm adding more lighter and medium layers, then I'm also coming back and adding my darker grays back in. And then I'm gonna start remixing this blue so I can soften where the clouds meet the sky. Because a lot of times that's where you kind of lose the shape of the clouds and it's a little less defined. So I'm gonna take my phthalo and ultramarine blue and white, because that's what we used last week to make the sky color. And I believe last week I also added a little bit of my gray, because it's kind of a little hazier down at the bottom. Typically skies get lighter as they go down. And then also, since this has a little bit more rain clouds, it's going to be a little hazy. So this may be a little too bright, but we'll see what happens when I start blending it with the rest of my sky. Once I've slightly blended the blue down here, then I'm gonna have a slightly darker blue for up here in my sky. And what I can start doing is, if it was too thin last week, I can reapply another layer, but also I can use this, and it's gonna be a little lighter than it was last week, just slightly. I can use this to cut in to my cloud shape. Now, if this was going to be more like a very wispy traditional cloud, then I would also use this opportunity to reapply some blue and kind of blur some of the edges of my clouds into the blue, because a lot of times with clouds you're going to have some blurred edges but also some sharp edges. So that's what I'm going to go ahead and do, is start cutting in to my cloud. Now, to take a break from my clouds, because I may want to let them dry and then come back and see if I want to add anything else to them, I'm going to start working down here in the foreground. So I'm going to make a little bit brighter of a color to start adding a little more depth to this part of the landscape. So I'm going to be taking yellow, burnt sienna, and mixing that, and together it makes kind of a nice like golden yellow. And I can add a tiny bit of red if I want it even warmer. And then I can add more white to it for some of the brighter areas. Now, what I'm gonna do is start by layering on top of what I already have. And a lot of times you don't have to necessarily cover all that you did the previous week. You can kind of just leave some of it showing through as kind of like a layer to add depth. And I'm starting down here at the bottom with my darker golden yellow. And then as I go up, I'm gonna start having more white and a bit more of my cadmium yellow. So less of the red. Mm-hmm.
Yellow. Wait. Oh, shoot. I just did yellow.
I'm gonna have some burnt sienna just by itself and some burnt sienna yellow just to add some warmer tones to the left side of my painting. Of course, you could also not make it kind of like a wheat field. You could make it more like grass and just do greens everywhere. So, and then I'm gonna add some more white to my burnt sienna as I go up. Take some blue and burnt sienna to kind of remake that hill color we did last week. And I can also use that once I'm done blocking some of the yellows to start flicking some darker grass, because a lot of this is going to mix with the yellow we already have on here, so I want to go a lot darker than I would think I would. Then you can go ahead and take that same color and use it to start blocking in some of your trees. Now, since everything is still wet, it'll probably mix a little bit with your grass. So this is more just to start visualizing where it's gonna be in our painting, and then we'll make it darker once it dries again. So, and if something doesn't work out, you can always blend it in and then make it part of the grass. And that's about it on this layer, and then we'll start finishing details the next time.